Alrighty, it's 9:30 on the dot, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you everybody for joining us. I know this was kind of a last minute webinar notification, but we wanted to take some time to touch base with everybody and make sure that we are ready for the FY24 reporting season. I know we're getting close to those first couple of due dates, so I didn't want to take too much time today, but just want to refresh everybody's memories. And if anybody has any questions, we'll get to those at the very end. Okay, so today we're just going to take, oh, there's an echo. They might have their mics on. It might be this room. We're just going to take a few minutes to go over some of the reports, take a look at last year's, and then we'll take some questions at the very end. So we do have a new team member this year, Taylor Bowen. She started with us at the end of May. Yeah, the end of May. She is our new solid waste regulation development person. So any new regulations that come up, Taylor will be the one handling those. And as always, my name is Katie Deal. I am the Solid Waste Management Annual Report Editor. We have Kyle Clark, who is handling our full cost disclosure, Celeste, who handles our solid waste planning, and Sally, our fearless leader. So I just wanted to take a second so that way everybody could put some faces to names, so we can see who you'll be working with in the next few weeks. Okay, so let's talk about the annual report and why it's important. It was established through the Solid Waste Management Act of 1991. We are required to report solid waste activities to the governor and the General Assembly every year by March 15th. The data from the report is used as an update to the Solid Waste Management Plan, and we use it to show trends and obstacles in our state, and it helps with the planning. And I'm going to actually let Celeste talk about that for a few minutes.
Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Celeste. I just wanted to take a moment to emphasize why the recycling and disposal data that you submit is important to several of our solid waste planning activities and to our solid waste permitting decisions. As Katie just said, the Act requires the state and local governments, our counties, to have and maintain solid waste management plans. The annual report is the update to the state plan, and the county plans or regional plans are required to clearly state how the county or region intends to manage its solid waste streams for a 20-year planning period, including how they will manage the current and future solid waste streams through a combination of solid waste management facilities, treatment methods, and activities for the 20-year planning period. The state plan and its annual report also serves as a planning tool to local governments when they write or revise their state plans. Their local plans. So the data that you submit, crosses over a lot of places in the things that we do. Permitting activities that require a determination of consistency are also required to be consistent with the state plan and the local plan. So when the department is reviewing the state plan, the local plan, which includes the annual report as part of that review, we look to see if what the county intends on how to manage that proposed activity is supported in that local plan. So the data that you submit is very critical and important to a lot of things that we do. So, when you take time to vet those numbers, or if we ask you to recheck something, it's very important because it's not just the annual report that you are submitting data for, you're also influencing our permitting decisions and how your how your local plan position is supported. So there's a lot of crossover in our duties, and those numbers come into play in several different places. So it's very important that those numbers are accurate and that they're vetted and that they represent what's going on in the county and at the local level because of how it influences our solid waste planning activities as well as our permitting decisions. So I think that's probably the biggest focus for today and what we do for planning.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Celeste. Since Celeste is our planning guru, I just wanted her to take a few minutes to talk to you guys to kind of convey the importance of the reports and not only reporting, but reporting as accurate information as possible. So, all right, let's talk about fiscal year 2023 for a moment. If you have not received a hard copy of the Solid Waste Management Annual Report from 2023 and you would like to receive a copy, make sure you send me an email and we'll get that out to you this week. But it is online as always. Some of our key takeaways from this past year. MSW recycling decreased. It sits at 20.9% right now, down from 22%. Our TSW disposal increased, and usually when we see a decrease in recycling, we're going to see an increase in disposal. $483 million were spent on solid waste activities last year. We had over 4 million tons of just MSW disposed. Only one county met our 50% or more MSW recycling goal, and 16 counties met the 3.25 per person per day or less disposal goal. So I have a couple of graphics here. We did do some changes in the way that we handle county information. If you need full rundowns of your county recycling, please don't hesitate to reach out. We still have those. We were just looking for a more streamlined way to present the information in the annual report. And just a reminder, those residential recycling reports, they are due September 3rd. I know our email said the 2nd, but that is a holiday. So we did push it back to the 3rd. The annual local government survey is due on the 16th, as well as the earned revenue survey. Full cost disclosure notices are due to be published by October 1st. And then the disclosure is due to Kyle by the 15th. Business surveys are due November 1st to Grace Ann. And then if you handle any landfill or transfer station reports or processing facility reports, those are due by September 1st to the Division of Compliance and Enforcement. Okay. All right, so now we're going to get down into the nitty gritty of the actual retrack reports and where we get our data from. So our annual local government survey serves as an update for anything that's happening in your county solid waste disposal wise. In the past, we haven't put an emphasis on this report, but this year we are asking, even if nothing has changed in your county, please be sure that you are filling out this survey. We use this to update our numbers on drop-off centers and curbside programs. This is how we get a snapshot of what's going on in your county and anything that is happening from July 1st of 2023 through June 30th of 2024. Program-wise should be reported in this survey. Here's just a brief look at what that survey looks like. Be sure that when you're filling these out, you're clicking that save button. It should give you the option to save it as either a draft or completed. If you save it as a draft, you'll be able to go back in and change things yourself. If you save it as completed, we can go in and reopen the survey for you. If you need us to, just send us an email or give me a phone call and we'll get that reopened for you. Next is the earned revenue survey. This looks at the profit that a county made from the sale of recycled materials. It's broken down by commodity and it asks you to list out the different prices. This is helpful when you're filling out your full cost disclosure form as well. So we are asking if you did earn any money from the sale of recyclables in fiscal year 2024, please fill out this survey. Okay. Next is our residential recycling survey, and this is probably the most important survey on retrack. This is where we get the bulk of the recycling data from you guys. We do get a little bit of recycling data that comes from our landfills and our transfer stations if they're pulling material out to send to recycling. But all of our data for recycling for your county for residents should be coming from this survey. And we're asking that you just take a minute to double check and make sure that it's coming to us as accurately as possible. And I'll show you a glimpse at that. So the date on these surveys should be June 30th, 2024. If you have multiple programs in your county, like if you are entering for a municipality within your county, or if you have several different programs or curbside collections or convenience centers and you have them broken down by the different convenience centers, make sure that you put that in the generator box. So that way we know if something comes up, we can go back and look and say, hey, this county's curbside program is reporting this number. We need to check it. So it saves us a little bit of time and it also saves you a little bit of time should we have to follow up on anything. Another important thing to note is the unit of measurement that you are reporting in. ReTrack offers tons and pounds. So make sure that if you have pounds on your reports that you're entering in pounds. If not, you're entering them in tons. If you do enter in pounds, it'll automatically populate that number into tons. And the same thing with the other surveys, make sure you're saving it. If you save it as a draft, you'll be able to go back in and edit it by yourself. If you save it as completed, we can go in and edit it and open it back up for you so that way you can get back into it. Just send us an email or give me a phone call. Okay, and then we have our business surveys. This is where the other bulk of our recycling material numbers come from. We have 3 different types of business surveys. Our commercial institutional, which is for your commercial businesses or schools, hospitals, offices, that kind of thing. Industrial office packaging is for industrial businesses who report post-consumer recycling. So this is anything like paper or aluminum cans or any kind of typical office recycling, as well as cardboard boxes that might come from shipments. And then our industrial processing manufacturing is for pre-consumer goods. So that's anything that would come from the manufacturing process. And if you have any questions about the business surveys, Grace Ann Martin is handling those again this year. She was unable to be on the call with us this morning, but if anybody needs to get in touch with her, I can get you in touch with her, or we can get you set up with her email address, phone number, anything like that. And these are, again, broken down into 3 different surveys. You can enter as many surveys as you need to. If you enter them, if you need to view all of them, you just click the view all in the corner up there, and it'll show you the list of all of your surveys. Okay, now I'm gonna pass it over to Kyle Clark, who is handling our full cost disclosure.
Hello, y'all. My name is Kyle Clark, and like she said, I'm doing the full cost disclosure. And just a few things I want to go over with you guys with the full cost is that the full cost report and ad is due October 15th, usually no later, as the ad is usually needs to be published by October 1st. Just a few remarks about the ad, though. It does take some time to be published. So if that's usually the longest thing that takes to get done, the report is usually the fastest, but the ad just takes some time. There's a few options to submit the full cost report. The most popular one is by email and followed up by ReTrack, then mail. ReTrack and email is probably the most easiest way to submit the full cost in a very fast time way, other than mail. And Just a few frequent questions I normally receive is how do I find these said numbers or how do I find such and such? My best advice for you guys is just to meet up with your financial department as they're the one that usually follows the numbers within your county, town, city, and they'll be able to help provide you with the number that you need. Hey, thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. And if anybody is not able to access Retrack or they need help with Retrack, please feel free to shoot us an email, give us a phone call. We do have the new accounts locked down, so you can't just create an account by yourself. You'll have to be added to a current one. And that does take some time because we have to get someone on our back end of Retrack to do that for us. So if you don't have access to Retrack, please let me know in the next week or so that way we can get you in there before these residential recycling surveys are due on the 3rd. Okay, now let's talk about disposal for a moment. I know that this is a big topic. I just wanted to take a minute to show you guys some of the surveys that we use. All of our disposal information does go through our compliance and enforcement side. So if you're handling those, those should be sent directly to compliance and enforcement. But we are working with our compliance section and we're working with those facilities to ensure that data is more accurately tracked and reported. We do have to do a little bit of reconciling with numbers here and there between landfills and transfer stations. So we're trying to kind of crack down on that just to make sure that what we are reporting is the most accurate number for you guys. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? And they could be questions about this year's reporting or last year's report. Does local municipality have to do a business survey? If you don't have any businesses that are participating in any recycling programs, no. If you do know of businesses in your area that are, if you want to give them our contact information, we can get that from them. Thank you, Fred. Yeah.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Sally. I just wanted to, again, thank everyone for being on this webinar this morning. If you, just to give a little bit more time to think of any questions, this webinar is for all of you, and wanted to also thank Katie and all of our section for being here this morning to put this together. Again, I'm sorry for the last minute. But again, just if you have any questions or anything, this is your time to ask them. We know that there are some new people out there in the counties, and I'm still learning something new every day myself. But I also want to reiterate that we do appreciate all the work that you all do. And we want to just keep working together with everybody just to make sure that we have the most accurate, up-to-date information for the counties and for our annual report and any reporting that we have. So if you don't, if you have any more questions, please feel free to raise your hand or put them in the chat. Or if you have any other questions later on, feel free to reach out to Katie or me, and we can get it to anybody else that can answer it. I will turn it back to Katie. I think we have another question in the chat. Victoria, that is what all of the financial items are listed in the report form for the category of expenses. Kyle, that may be you a question, but I think for professional services, again, I think I would double check with your finance department. That really is up to specific counties of what you all consider professional services. Each county may be a little bit different. But again, you know, we have the full cost reporting, but really this is just for each individual county and how you all track your solid waste expenses. We really suggest getting with your finance department and seeing how they separate all of the categories.
That is a great question. In the future, will businesses be required to report? As of right now, there are no plans for that. We can't require a entity to report that's not regulated under one of our divisions. So as of right now, they're not required to report, but we do our best to encourage them to report. And I think Grace Ann is working on some stuff with the Smart Business Program, but that's more for her to tell.
Joe, that's a great question. I believe that the next solid waste meeting will be in October. Grace Ann and Richard in the recycling section are planning that up. And I believe, give me just 1 second. I can give you tentative dates, but do not hold me to those dates. I believe they will be October 16th and 17th. They are planning to do a 2-day event this year. And as far as the counties in the e-waste program are going, we ended up with 20 counties for 21 for this year. Thanks, Kyle. And we do not have any updated numbers for the first 2 quarters yet. I can get you those numbers and email them to you. But as far as I know, the counties that are in the e-waste program seem to be doing well. I know that we have not had as much collected as previously in the past years, but that goes along with the convenience standard instead of a target based. So Joe, I'll write that down and I can get those updated numbers to you if you like. Well, so while we have you all here, are there any other topics or conversations that you would like to let us know about or that we can take back to the rest of the division? Or anything, anything solid waste related, not to drag this out and take any more of your time, but while we have you all here, just to reiterate, this is your webinar and we would love, the time to answer as many questions as possible. All right, we have one more in the chat. That may be a combination Katie and Kyle question. Go ahead. That's a Kyle question, Fred.
Hi, Fred. Yes, it is okay to include the recycling numbers with the solid waste. So far, yes, that's okay.
Okay, so we had a question about how the data is verified. Are you asking specifically about residential data or business data? And if a business reports to both the county and the state or enters and sends it in, how is that sorted out? So Grace Ann has a process that she works through. Retrack is able to, we've made some updates to Retrack this year to where we can sort that business data that comes into Retrack by county. And then she has a process where she goes through all of the submitted reports just to make sure nothing has been duplicated. As far as the data for counties, we do that based on previous year's numbers, and we just try to have conversations with you guys to see like if there was any significant recycling activities that happen, like collections, or if a program shut down, anything like that. Um, what caused the increase in TSW? We don't really have an answer to that. Sometimes our landfills just take in more than they do the year before. Okay, so if we have vendors who recycle materials, they pick up from our recycling centers. So if you have a vendor who picks up recycling materials from your recycling center, um, it depends on what it is. So if they're picking up residential materials from like collection centers, the county should be reporting that. Um, yeah, so your vendor should be reporting that material to you, and then you should be reporting that to us. Does that answer your question, Ava? Mary, I'm sorry.
Unmute.
Yes, if anybody wants to ask a question, we can unmute if you want to just raise your hand. Mary, they should have weights on those materials. Why don't you shoot me an email and we will figure that out together? Um, uh, Capital Waste. I don't have a contact, but I can get one for you, Tina. Yes, Joe. Development can cause an increase in solid waste. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing. It could be an increase in solid waste recycling or solid waste disposal. Do we have any more questions? That's great to hear, Joe. Yes, we can send you a list of businesses that have reported directly to DES. If you would like to shoot myself an email or Grace Ann an email, I can tell you the ones that have reported on Retrack, and she should be able to tell you the ones that she's received either PDF or paper reports on. And also, if you guys didn't know, we do require state agencies to report. So all of the environmental offices and public health offices in your areas should be reporting their data to us, as well as your colleges and universities. If they're state funded college and university or a state agency, they are required to report to us. That is a separate report that we publish in November, but all of the data from that goes into the annual report. Any more questions? Comments? Thank you, Taylor. Taylor just put Grace Ann's email in the chat. So if anybody has any questions specifically about business reporting, feel free to shoot her an email.
Just to go back, Maureen, to your question about the increase in TSW, no, we do not have an exact answer. And I know that's not the best response to anyone's question. But we do work closely with Richard's section with recycling and with Justin with permitting, and just, come up with ideas of things that happened in the previous year. Let's just, put it out there that recycling has decreased in the past few years. We've had more hurricanes in the past few years. So, while we don't have a definite answer, I mean, and we probably won't, we do still work together, to make sure that if we see a trend in something, we work with Richard and we work with Justin, and just to say, hey, we see this, but what, like we talked about development. We do have a lot of development, recycling is going down, but we're always looking for other avenues, of how we can improve. But that goes along with these reporting numbers that we get from you all. If we can give the best data that we can, it helps in other ways as well. It helps for recycling to figure out what they can work on and what they can target, as well as it's just a snapshot of what's happening in our state. And unfortunately, that's just the case that the TSW increased last year. But our goal, as always, is to recycle as much as we can, and also to get as much correct information out to you all as we can.
Aaron, yes, the class 2 report is on e-permitting. And I do have Kyle's contact information. Taylor dropped it in the chat for you guys as well. And mine is on the screen as well. If anybody has any specifics that they want to get into, please feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help answer these questions. We don't want you to feel like you're alone in this. The conference will be 2 full days. I'm not sure. I think it will be 2 full days. Yes.
Yes. Don't hold us to that. Again, Grace Ann will be sending out some information on that as well. But she'll send, information about the dates and, hopefully some places to stay. But I do believe it is going to be a 2 full day event. So you all will be seeing us again.
Yes, but we wanted to make sure that we got to touch base with you guys before the first set of reports were due. So that's why we wanted to meet today. And if anybody has any questions, please, please, please just shoot us an email, give me a call. Okay, well, if we don't have any more questions today, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. As Sally said earlier, we appreciate you guys so much and everything that you do. If anybody needs any assistance, please feel free to reach out to us.